Larry Page is famous for being one of the co-founders of tech giant Google, along with Sergey Brin. Google's parent company, Alphabet Inc., is one of the largest companies in the world with a market cap of $1.28 trillion. He was the first child in his elementary school to write a paper on a word processor. From around the age of 12, Page already knew that he was going to start a company and invent things for a living. Page was president of his Honor Society chapter. Along with fellow student Sergey Brin, Page concentrated on the issue of discovering which pages linked to a particular web page. The pair nicknamed the project Backrub and turned their research into a paper titled The Anatomy of a Large-Scale Hypertextual Web Search Engine. Backrub's web crawler gathered the data in Page, and Brin created the PageRank algorithm. Page used his basic HTML programming skills to create a primitive search page. They raised $1 million, largely from friends and family, and moved into a Mountain View office in 2000. Page wasn't a fan of non-engineers managing engineers, and in 2001, he wanted to fire every single one of them. With investors offering to put $50 million into Google, they encouraged Page to step down as CEO in favor of someone with more experience. Google was now worth more than $180 billion and employed over 24,000 people. Page backed away from day-to-day product-related decision-making in October of 2014 so that he could focus on new generations of ambitious projects. His understanding with Sergey Brin proved fruitful, and both never knew that their small college project would become so big that today billions of people rely on Google. Larry Page is famous for being one of the co-founders of tech giant Google, along with Sergey Brin. His net worth, according to Forbes, is $85.3 billion, which puts him in 10th place on the list of the world's richest people at that time. Google's parent company, Alphabet Inc., is one of the largest companies in the world with a market cap of $1.28 trillion. It means the company's market cap is larger than the entire GDP of many countries like the Netherlands, Switzerland, Saudi Arabia, and Israel. In 2002, Larry Page and Sergey Brin agreed to sell Google for $1 billion to Yahoo, but luckily Yahoo thought $1 billion is a lot for a small company like Google. Within some years, Yahoo itself was sold for $4.5 billion, while Google today is valued at $1.28 trillion. Want to know how Larry Page built this giant search engine Google? Watch the full video. We at Business Chronicles tell the stories of extraordinary successful people. Please subscribe to our channel to help us in making more videos. Lawrence Edward Page was born on the 26th of March in 1973 in Lansing, Michigan. His mother Gloria taught computer programming, and his father Carl had been described as a pioneer in artificial intelligence and computer science. He said that the home he grew up in was typically strewn with computers, science, and tech magazines, all of which he dived into with enthusiasm. The combination of all this learning and the encouragement of his accomplished parents meant that the young Larry Page grew up in an atmosphere of invention and creativity. His parents also sent him to Interlochen Arts Camp for 2 summers, where he learned to play the flute and saxophone. Page credits his obsession with speed and computing to the appreciation of time that his music education brought to his attention. Being able to play with early personal computers that were lying around the house from the age of 6 is what fostered his interest in the subject. He was the first child in his elementary school to write a paper on a word processor, but he also had a practical bent and was wont to take things apart to see how they worked, thanks to the encouragement from his older brother Carl. From around the age of 12, Page already knew that he was going to start a company and invent things for a living. He went to Okemos Montessori School between 1975 and 1979, followed by East Lansing High School up until 1991. He earned a bachelor's in computer engineering in 1995 from the University of Michigan and a master's in computer science at Stanford in 1998. At Michigan, he used Lego bricks and adapted inkjet cartridges to create a cheap, large-scale printer to produce big posters. He also put together all the mechanisms and electronics to make it work. Page was president of his Honor Society chapter, and he also served on the university's Maize and Blue solar car team in 1993. Full of ideas, he proposed a self-driving monorail rapid transit system to replace the school bus service while still a student, and around the same time, he planned a business in which a music synthesizer would be created by software. Page's search for a suitable dissertation subject was what started him looking at the mathematics behind the World Wide Web. He understood its interlinked structure to be something like a massive graph. Along with fellow student Sergey Brin, Page concentrated on the issue of discovering which pages linked to a particular web page while taking into account the number and type of those links, because he considered this information to be valuable for that page. You may have thought in this way because it mirrors the systems of citations in academic publishing, where a paper that's cited more than others is considered to have greater authority. If he could find a way to count the links to a web page and assess their quality, then he would have a tool that could work out its value and rank it with others in order of relevance. He was quick to see that this would be very valuable information. The pair nicknamed the project Backrub and turned their research into a paper titled The Anatomy of a Large-Scale Hypertextual Web Search Engine, which at the time became the most downloaded piece of research in the internet's history. Backrub's web crawler gathered the data in page, and Brin created the PageRank algorithm to turn it into a measure of importance for each page. They soon came to see that their solution, with its ability to analyze the relevance of the linking pages, was light years ahead of existing search engine technology. They turned Page's college bedroom into a tech laboratory, salvaging parts from cheap computers to create a machine to link their early search engine with Stanford's on-site network. Next, they turned Brin's room into a programming center and office where they could test out their search engine ideas. The project rapidly grew, so much that it caused some technical headaches for the school's computing infrastructure. Page used his basic HTML programming skills to create a primitive search page. Its popularity grew quickly, and Stanford had to commission extra servers to deal with the load. The initial version of Google was still on the university's website in August of 1996 when it was made available to internet users. By 1998, they had 10,000 searches a day. It grew from there, and because the way they used new technology to spread learning, the pair have been compared to Johannes Gutenberg, inventor of the mechanical printing press in 1440. Page and Brin incorporated Google in 1998. They had managed to pull together enough money to buy some servers and rent a garage in Menlo's Park. The co-founder of Sun Microsystems, Andy Bechtolsheim, made out a check for $100,000 to Google Inc., but it didn't exist yet, so the money sat idle for 2 weeks waiting for a home. The domain name for Google was initially Google, which came from the word Googleplex, the name for the number with 1 followed by 100 knots. Page became CEO while Brin was the company president. Its mission was to organize all of the world's information to make it accessible and useful. They raised $1 million, largely from friends and family, and moved into a Mountain View office in 2000. Thanks to Page's earlier experiments with smaller servers, they were able to fit more of them into the warehouses they rented. This meant that Google could run a lot faster than its competitors at the time. By the middle of 2000, Google had managed to index 1 billion internet sites, making it the most thorough search engine in the world. Page wasn't a fan of non-engineers managing engineers, and in 2001, he wanted to fire every single one of them. This approach caused considerable rankles, but eventually the idea of only having technical people managing other technical people gained popularity. He also gave his staff some basic tenets. Do whatever tasks you can yourself rather than delegating them, to speed things up. Get out of the way of others if you can't add value to a project. Avoid being bureaucratic. Respect ideas regardless of who comes up with them. Don't stop someone from doing something without offering a solution. Page pushed his engineers because he was obsessed with speeding up answers to search queries. He knew that faster results would drive user management. With investors offering to put $50 million into Google, they encouraged Page to step down as CEO in favor of someone with more experience. Eric Schmidt, CEO of Novell, replaced him in August of 2001, while Page and Brin became product presidents. Google grew rapidly, and its IPO came in 2004, making Page a billionaire at 30 years old. The company acquired Android for $50 million in 2005 under Page's leadership. This was to fulfill his vision of putting a computer in the hands of every consumer so that they could access Google from anywhere in the world. In 2011, Page became CEO once more. Google was now worth more than $180 billion and employed over 24,000 people. Page oversaw increased autonomy for executives looking at the most important divisions and created a more collaborative team environment. Although combative in his early years, he now believed that cooperation was key to rejuvenation for the company. As the company expanded, it acquired other businesses, and Page set some ground rules for all new acquisitions. They had to initially pass the toothbrush test, which meant that they would need to be useful once or twice a day and improve the user's life. Page cared more about the long-term potential of an acquisition rather than its ability to generate quick profits. Few other businesses think this way. Page backed away from day-to-day product-related decision-making in October of 2014 so that he could focus on new generations of ambitious projects like Google Fiber, smart home automation, and biotechnology innovations. In 2015, Page became CEO of Alphabet Inc., a new holding company for Google. This move put him in control but divorced him from day-to-day activities. He stepped down from this role in 2019. Page is invested in Tesla Motors, as well as renewable energy companies, and in Opener, a startup working on aerial vehicles for consumers. He's also interested in how intelligent systems can provide for people, shorten the work week, and mitigate the negative effects of technology that reduce the work available for humans. Larry Page was born into an educated family. He was lucky to have a mother who knew about programming and a father who was an expert in artificial intelligence at a time when people hadn't even heard of that term, let alone understood it. He followed the footsteps of his parents and opted for higher education, where he got into Stanford and where he met Sergey Brin. His understanding with Sergey Brin proved fruitful, and both never knew that their small college project would become so big that today billions of people rely on Google. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to watch more videos like this.